Hello and welcome back to the OPL. You're getting a look at Spooks. Had a pretty good game controlling the neutral objectives. Got 3 dragons, a couple of barons.
Did he soloed them all? He soloed at least 2.
Yeah, he soloed them all, I think. Swiffer popping off on the Oriana as well, a champion we haven't really seen have much success so far. And Order picked up what was a squeaky clean game 1.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Swiffer, someone I do want to highlight. He was kind of a non-factor for the majority of the game because the mid matchup was just so stale.
He didn't do anything until he did something, and then that something was a one-shot.
In like a bad way,
yeah.
But he was just a non-factor until he ultied the MF, he ultied the Victor, and suddenly Order had won the game. They got themselves a Baron, and that was just a big swing point. So,
and that's what I was saying. Last time these two teams played, I feel like Order made the proactive play and stuck their hand in the cookie jar. And then Triple, Shern were like, no, bad Order. Give us 5 kills. And then Order was like, damn it. And then the next game, they stuck their hand back in the cookie jar and they're like, no, bad Order. And then Order was like, no, I'm taking a cookie this time.
Yeah.
And then game 3, like, they got their hand stuck in the cookie jar. Like, that's how bad it went. So this game, Order went, maybe if we don't do anything, we'll win.
We won't get slapped.
And then they didn't do anything.
And then they won.
And then they won.
You've just solved League of Legends. It's just so simple. If you don't try and win the game, the others will, and they'll inevitably mess it up at some stage, and then...
Mate, you're the analyst. I'm just telling you what I saw.
Oh, yeah, you're just a play-by-play.
I'm just a humble play-by-play caster.
Anything about the game.
Gameplay up and still available. They take Galio instead.
Yeah, okay. Interesting stuff. Does Tally opt in for the GP again, or on red side, is it different potentially? Could have the similar matchup in the Camille, things like that. But no, it might just be the Xayah Rakan.
I feel like you have to kind of take it away just because Galio Xayah Rakan is so dangerous.
And the big thing is you expect to see a Braum in response, but Tristana was actually banned away by the Direwolves. They're respecting FBI's pressure in game 1, and so if they pick up the Braum, they have to match it with maybe something like the Caitlyn, like the Varus, but they're just not quite as effective as the Tristana.
I feel like Varus is just as good. Just when level 6 hits. I feel like Tristana, like level 1 to 5 is much better, and then Varus becomes better afterwards. You see they give up the Gangplank, however. Chippy's going to lock that one in. I just went at that 4 times and didn't get an L sound when I tried to move my tongue.
Should have done your pre-show warm-ups, you know, warm up your mouth. But it is the GP locked in. Do they pick up anything like the jungler's role? Do they take away the Braum? I'd expect to see a Braum pick up overall, but 3 seconds, haven't hovered anything. No, okay, back to the Alistar. Wasn't available game 1. This will be Cupcake, looking much more comfortable in recent weeks on the proactive champions than the Tahm Kench that game.
Certainly looks like an intimidating lineup so far. This is a lineup that can go forward very well. It's going to be the Cassiopeia again into the Galio. It's seen as a counter pick right now, but we saw that it didn't really work out in the laning phase, and then all of a sudden, Ryoma won 2 team fights and did some work. See what Order now bans away. You have to think they're going to hit the 80 carry champion pool again.
And I like what Direwolves has done. I feel like Sharp has gone back into the room, and I feel like Direwolves just lacked proactivity game 1. They quite literally didn't do anything. Both of the teams, they didn't do anything, and then one of them won. But they just, like, Schönfire wasn't the one that was able to step up, I feel like. And so now they put it in the hands of the other players. Triple's going to have himself the Galio. The Alistar is going to be in the hands of Cupcake. So giving these members that have proven they can do it, and are seemingly reliable in recent weeks, makes a lot of sense.
Gangplank means you're no longer on the clock.
Yep.
Because you can go late game as well. They get rid of the Varus and Misfortune, so they want the Caitlyn pickup to come out. Obviously, not really all that intimidated by the long range that will be coming out of King if he is on that pick.
They're more just intimidated by the Wombo. Now that you have the Galio, you have the Ali, GP layered over the top. If you suddenly put an MF there, and they get any form of engage.
And you have no Doorman to stop it either.
You've got a Rakan, you've got the squishiest. What is he? He's like Mr. Tumnus from, what's the movie? Narnia.
Okay, yeah.
You know Mr. Tumnus? Yeah. I'm now quoting the movie.
I do know Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
He looks like, that's what he looks like.
Zac pick up here. Don't want to give that to Shern, given the fact that, as we've already mentioned, there is so much Wombo combo potential available right now. If you give Zac to access the backline. Shern's always been a good Zac player, one of the few tanks that I've been very impressed in the past with him playing.
Makes a lot of sense there. But I mean, talking about Wombo, Order are kind of piecing together one of their own. Zac, Cassio, Rakan, Xayah. We've just seen it be so effective here. So both teams just going to be fighting fire with fire, you have to think, this game.
Do we see something spicy top lane? I don't think that we've seen Order hold Tally's pick for last.
Okay.
I actually think they priority pick for Tally more than anything and then kind of try and hold jungle and mid lane most of the time. That's why we've seen Swiffer play things like Oriana, Talia a lot.
in saying that, the GP was picked pretty early, so in the place of the Zac,
But
they
wanted
have picked it up.
I think they wanted to see the jungle matchup
Yep.
because I think what they're saying is we have a lane counter right now. However, it is dependent on having a stronger 2v2 as well. So we need to see what the jungle is going to be, and it's going to be a Kha'Zix.
Especially when you do pick up the Zac and you're into something like the Kha'Zix. Early skirmishes, if you don't get the play immediately, if you can't kill someone in the CC,
That's boring.
yep, then Kha'Zix will be able to counter-gank that.
I've been looking at solo queues. I was going to be like, Volley Bear top.
Yes.
Darius top. Maybe the return
I
of
feel like-
Jace or Lucian, and we get a Sion.
I feel like Volley Bear into GP doesn't sound like the best matchup.
Why not? Just
Like-
run at him. Toss
Like,
him.
yes, but I feel like there are much
Eat him.
better things. Just play, like, you can play stuff like Lucian and things like that, and you can actually punish. I feel like Volley Bear, in terms of, he'll be fine, but, like, in the same way that everyone's kind of fine against the GP early.
Hit him with the Thunder Claws.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear you speak poorly of the best champion in League of Legends. 100% win rate at the moment internationally.
Wow.
1 of 1.
1 of 1. That's
one of
That's
those
stunning.
stats that is so much better until you add context
Yeah.
around it.
Stats are like that. But, as we did mention, it was the Sion picked up, so just kind of adding to the team fight potential. No team really, for the most part, wants to play too much split. There's a lot more threat in the split for Direwolves. They have that gangplank.
Yep.
Sort of, we mentioned being on the clock order. Are on the clock a little bit here. Zyrakan scales pretty well, but Cassio as well. Like, they have the scaling to match. I feel like you give the edge to Direwolves, but
They've got a
for the most
beefy
part,
front
it's not.
line and 2 hyper carries. I feel like they're okay, but once again, it comes down to range. I always talk about this, like, because in the past, hyper carries have all been long range. Kog'Maw, Twitch, Caitlyn. And now they're not. Like, you see things like, you know, the Ezreal, which is kind of more medium range, Xayah, Cassio. So I feel like, once again, the big thing here is the zoning tools out of the out of the Gangplank barrels will be massive. And the fact that if you want to walk in as Order, there's a risk of a Superman Galio thing coming over the top and kind of knocking you all up.
yeah. See if that does come into fruition here. Taking a look at Cupcake. Got himself that Alistar. But we are on to Rift. Game 2 here. Order versus Direwolves. Surprisingly, to many people, Order took the first game already, but Direwolves looking to answer it, looking to make it the 1-1. But to get more insight into what they're thinking, Laura's standing beside Sharp.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with Sharp. Now, in game number 1, we didn't get to see the Direwolves we're used to seeing. What did you say to them during the break?
I mean, it's just, yeah, we haven't really been. Actually, no, I lie. We were in a situation like this against Legacy. We like nearly got perfect gamed. So I think the guys this year, I mean, we're a different type of Direwolves. Last year, we're very emotional. I mean, in the sense that we didn't look like we're emotional on stage, but I guess it's like the same in terms of behind the scenes. We're very, I guess, composed and just focused on what we need to do. It's a best of 3. It's not, I mean, it's not just one game, so there's still more games to go. So I guess the guys will just compose, get them focused on what we need to do next to win the next game, and yeah.
King has said in interviews that he wants to be a player that can play a wide variety of champions, and in both game and 1, he had a few bans thrown towards him. Were you expecting this?
No, not really. We weren't really expecting the bans on Calvin, but the way the draft turned out, he got pinched, and I guess that we weren't able to react accordingly in draft, and we got punished for it. So I think that's well played to Order.
And taking a look at Order's composition this game, what do you think their win condition is, and how will you guys be countering it?
Well, Zyrakan, heavy engage, Zac complements that with also heavy engage and good frontline coming out of Sion and some consistent DPS coming out of Cassiopeia. So, I mean, they've got a decent front-to-back team fighting composition. So I guess whoever can execute their comp in terms of playing around their ultimates will tend to win this game. So I think that's how it will go.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Sharp, and best of luck with the series.
Thank you very much.
Rogue winning the war of attrition there because he wants the spell thief slaps. And Cupcake is like, just get off me. Get away from me. I want the brush control.
He had to burn a pot for it. Level 1, he got to about half HP.
But he got all that much more gold.
Yeah,
Chippies.
okay.
Oh, that's a lot of damage going down.
All that much more gold. 3 procs of Spell Thief at level 1.
Come on, man. That's big.
Is it?
That is the gold lead right now.
Oh, that's insane. It's
He's
incredible.
a monster.
He is, but wait, it's not to mention like the mid lane CS and the top lane CS.
Yeah,
it's not that.
exactly.
That's
Nah,
not the
that
gold
one.
lead. It's all the Spell Thief.
Shern
Okay.
and Spook's going to bump into each other here. Shern, a little bit healthier.
Infernal Drake was spawned
When
as
I
well.
say
as
a
we
little
can.
bit, I mean a lot bit healthier.
Hand across that one. So it will be the Spicy Dragon. And interesting, we've seen a lot of Rakans on 8.3 and even 8.4 yesterday, today, go for the Spellbook. They like to switch around their summoners, but Rogue actually going more defensive for the lane, so won't have access to the Ghost later into the game. Feels like with the Zac, with the Sion, maybe he doesn't need that extra engaged potential. Has the Guardian to try and get through. what is a pretty beefy lineup. Caitlyn, good range for the laning phase, does that range Zaya and Alistar. Obviously, Cupcake's shown a great deal of success on that one, so
it's generally
kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's generally because Caitlyn and Ali can actually match you a little bit as they actually go in here, and you see good zone means that they actually get the stun up, no layering of the trap there, so supports will just take a lot of damage. Ignite down. A little bit of miscommunication, it looked like.
The laugh comes out of Cupcake. The Ignite starts ticking, and he hits him with the ha-ha.
I like that.
Just going to hit him with the pots. Now he'll back up. The one-pot advantage already from level 1 means that he's got pots to spare there. So the W misses from Rogue, and they burn that Ignite as well. Kill potential goes down without the access to that Ignite.
Yeah, and we'll see now whether they get shoved in with no Ignite, because that's what you kind of rely on. We've even seen people invest further with a spellbook into things like Exhaust Ignite looking for that.
Yeah, but I like the confidence out of Cupcake. He knows he's hitting level 3, and he just absolutely did not care what Order thought about it. Had no vision in the jungle. They obviously saw Spooks with Shurnfire up there, and he's just like, level 3, all right, I'm going in. Combo into the slap, knocks around FBI as best he can. He's just balling.
I actually kind of like this out of Tally as well, where Chippy throws a barrel in the middle of the wave, and then it normally becomes the game, like, who can hit the barrel? And Tally just goes, take a creep, take an axe, I'm not going anywhere near you. And then Chippy's is like, oh, crap, this sucks. However, is farming quite nicely right now. He went the Targon.
It all evens out, but FBI is actually sitting very low, 0 mana. Had to chug his pot as well, and you have to think another combo came out of Cupcake there. Potentially, they have the combo with the trap.
Now you kind of have to question the fact that they banned away the Misfortune instead of the Caitlyn, because one of the advantages that Order had was the fact that they bullied out the lane. Now Caitlyn not allowing them to do that. Very nice little whip of the Q, just a flick of the wrist, means that he gets some health back.
That's a big thing. Whilst this laning phase is not too exciting so far, against champions like the Rakan, like the Soraka, the biggest things aren't... the biggest thing is the war of attrition, where on Soraka you just dodge the Q. That is the most important thing in the laning phase. Rakan, you are bullying this lane, but every time he lands a Q, FBI just gets that big chunk of health back, so it's so important. It seems like you're like, oh, Rakan Q doesn't really do any damage.
Oh, Spooks has been caught out here, actually. That's very nice roam out of triple, on the back end of some good priority mid lane. Didn't mean to cut you out. Keep going.
Yeah, well, that was basically it. Just dodge the Qs, and they won't be full HP. But everything goes back to normalcy. King actually burnt the heal earlier.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. Checking in with the summoner spells. You can see Shurn right now is on a ward, but waiting for his Raptor camp to spawn. He's going to be nice and safe there. Top lanes both recall. Gangplank once again just scaling up fine. Even better this time around because he has himself that target.
Yeah. Obviously into the Scion, not as scary as into something like the Camille. Can't really force himself on you as much, so gets to go the extra
cold combo is there. Good knock up and a big shield means that they're able to mitigate some of that damage.
And that's the thing, right? This is why they took the Guardian, because they know this is going to be the reality of the laning phase until they hit level 6, until they have those ultis and can actually contest in a 2v2. Guardian is negating a
coming
significant
around
amount
from
of damage.
Shurn, and they have the Galio ultimate. They're going to hit the blast plant. Shurn goes over already looking for Rogue. Where is the ultimate, the grand entrance? No, he just walks it. Very interesting. I feel like that could have been a free kill.
Yeah, potentially. Swiffer is rotating down as well, trying to force triple out of his lane, but because Spooks is actually in bottom lane, can't contest the 2v1, Shurnfire and triple force him to go back to mid. But Spooks is still sitting around here. FBI is looking for a base. It might just be holding the lane right here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like that's what he's going to do. He's just going to leech himself some experience. However, he is in the zone of being dove as well. Can't be too careful.
Oh, and he uses his Q as well
looks for it. You see Cupcake actually going to look for the stun, and Spooks already burns the flash. Very strange play coming out of Spooks.
But I feel like both of them burnt it early. Spooks Qs the minion wave, tried to contest the 2v1, but Shurnfire was coming, but then Cupcake blows his combo.
Yep.
Shurnfire can't deal damage to Zach when he's in the tri-bush and not underneath the turret, so potential misplay out of both teams there, but everyone kind of walks away. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, they just get a summoner spell for it, which honestly is pretty worthwhile.
Yep.
Zach's gank's now going to be a little bit less potent. So much of Zach's creative ganking is through how you use the Q plus the slap.
Yep.
Tally runs forward, gives Chippy some gold, and just yells at him a little bit.
Hits him in the face with a big hammer. Chippy's just going to eat some oranges, be absolutely fine there. Heal that one back up. Blue buff got to be deposited over to the Snake Lady on Swiffer.
I have to say a similar early game, to be quite frank. Potentially going to be a reset on an Infernal Drake right now. No, they don't go for it. Instead, they're just looking for some vision control.
Yeah, they just want the Scuttle Crab. Nice little thing you can do, especially this early into the game when obviously with the quest change on the support items, and you go Moby Boots first and things like that, you don't have access to the first Sight Stone.
Yep.
So Scuttle Crabs become even more important.
For sure. I want to get your opinion, however, on the build coming out of the Direwolves bottom lane. King obviously had enough gold for the BF Sword as he was up in CS when he backed. However, goes for Boots 2 plus Pickaxe.
Wants the extra movement speed, Boots 2. Dodging around the Rakan, dodging around the Xayah, those roots are so important. I feel like, obviously, didn't have enough for like BF and Azil or something like that, so kind of the pseudo same sort of combo is Boots 2 in the Pickaxe. Obviously less damage overall, but...
Level 6 achieved for the 80 carries, and you can see right now that with that priority, a little bit of a top lane hover coming out. Have to check out when Rogue and Cupcake are about to go level 6. That's Cupcakes. Rogues can't be too far away, that logic would dictate.
You have to think on this wave as well. Let's find out about Spooks. He's just farming up his wolves, and Churnfire matching on the mirror position across the map there. Will be level 6 for the Rakan just there, but that's the big thing. Triple, now level 8 on the Galio. We haven't seen the first usage of that ultimate there, and then the bot lane of Order is really the big level 6 spike for that lineup there, so see which team can kind of pull the trigger on their engage first. Like Sharp alluded to in his interview, that's what he said. It comes down to execution of these two comps because they want to do similar things. And if one team just executes better, if one team gets the engage that they need, then they have a significant advantage here.
Yeah, completely agree. Triple walks forward right now. Flash was actually burnt top lane. Spooks goes in, gets stunned up. Slap will not be available, so very nicely played from Triple. A little bit of a warning shot gank there from Spooks, you feel like?
Yeah. But Churnfire is around to answer.
Yeah, Spooks is going to use his ult to hop out. That was a little bit strange.
Yeah.
I feel like Cassiopeia at this stage of the game is unrivaled, as you can see right now. Actually gets the grounded, will get taunted up. However, look at that. Swiffer kind of 1v2 won that duel, and if Spooks had ult,
they could have looked for more, but actually engaged in the bottom lane onto FBI again.
Yeah, actually the stun will come out. FBI now looking to turn onto King. Will miss
nice
the snare. Very nicely done by King.
Buffers himself out of that CC, gets behind the feather just before it rips back, so trade advantage going over to the Direwolves. FBI, this entire lane phase has kind of been sitting in this position time and time again, is on the lower health bar, but can they actually get anything for it? Churnfire, Swiffer once again, kind of sitting 1v2 against the Galio and the Kha'Zix.
Yeah, with an Infernal Drake up and bottom side control now seeded, you would have to expect Direwolves can look aggressive towards that objective, especially off a back end of a hard reset coming out of the Order bottom lane.
And they potentially don't know that they've reset just yet. And obviously they didn't pull the trigger on that one, so they won't go through with it, but their turret incredibly low. Churnfire down here. Galio still on the map. Is getting shoved in, doesn't have priority, but if they want to, they can force onto this play, onto the bottom lane. It is very low already.
There is a TP advantage right now for Order in the top lane. However, you just feel like Galio matches that. And with him going back to base and no vision behind them, King, actually they burn Triple's TP, so now there is the opportunity for this ward to go into the brush. And I feel like they have to play respectfully, given the fact that Sion's ulti is kind of that pseudo TP back to lane. He just runs real quick and gets there.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting, actually, when you talk about the TP advantage for Order, in terms of getting to bottom lane. It is matched by the Galio, but then Swiffer will eventually come down to the fight. So it becomes this game of not overreaching. Right, like you need to execute on the play, you need to get the turret or the team fight, whichever one you choose, and you need to get in and then get out immediately. If you stick out for too long, sure, Swiffer can't TP down there like the Galio can, but he can walk down there eventually.
And they're actually just pinging out exactly where that ward is. So they know that that is what Order is looking for. They know there is a window where Gangplank can only shoot off a cannon barrage, and Sion can be there in full force. You can see right now, Triple setting up a nice brush for himself. Will look to potentially go aggressive onto Swiffer. Miasma is burnt and Swiffer missed all his poisons. Now in comes Shern. Flash potentially has to come out here. Gets taunted up. Teleport is coming out of Tally as well, and that will just be a successful disengage.
Yeah, didn't even burn the cleanse on Swiffer, so burn the ulti, and that is the TP channel. Shorter cooldown, but kind of gets rid of the advantage that he had. Nice non-committal play out of the Direwolves.
Yep. Completely agree. That's one of those plays that Direwolves, they take the small advantage once again. This is a game of centimeters one more time, and I feel like it is this time going the Direwolves' way.
Right there, Lovers Duo do take away the joined recall.
So they jump on the back end of that. This turret's gone.
Yeah, this should be gone. Churnfire as well, posturing around, is the first one to the blue buff. Spooks is walking over as well, but 4 members of the Direwolves floating down, so they're going to guarantee this turret. Do they give the solo gold over to King, or does Cupcake feel like he deserves a share of it?
I feel like Cupcake should get out of range because Caitlyn is one of those champions that... Oh, they actually split it. I was going to say,
back.
Caitlyn is one of those champions that if you get accelerated is very obnoxious
Very hard
to be able to deal with. Potentially, Order can take Elder Drake, not Elder, Infernal Drake off this reset, however.
That's a 10-minute Elder Drake. It's OP.
All right, dude. I already said I can't speak. There's no point.
I'm not roasting you. Just imagine. Imagine what that would do to League of Legends. We've already got Barons and Banner of Commands and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like Elder Drake would push that one a little bit further over the edge.
Yeah, a little bit. Could you even kill it? He's a tanky boy. He does damage as well.
Tanky.
Actually, that would be incredibly difficult this early in the game. Like, you just don't do damage.
Well, that was one of the
stats.
suggestions of Baron, actually, is like make it do what it does now, but just make it stronger.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take it at 20 minutes, it's a serious investment. It's not a two-man sneak as we saw out of Order.
Sneak, yeah.
As Rogue actually used the feather recall right there, so not going to be able to get anything done. You see the teleport ward behind them. They're about to walk over it. Very nicely done. And Chippy's just farming up Absolute Storm.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Chippy's now level 10, so can opt in for the blue trinket, and that's what he's done. He's just been shoved in by the Scion for the most part this game. And Schoenfei's kind of been just playing around the bot lane, which makes a lot of sense. You have the Caitlyn, the Ali, they have priority. So he goes for the extra long range to kind of spot out if he thinks Spooks is around. Obviously has less vision overall because he can't place 2 trinkets, but can do it from a safer distance. So it makes a lot of sense there as he's completed his first item. Just kind of chilling in the top lane.
Now they're just bouncing waves. I mean, you'd think that Order probably wants to use this to grab themselves a Rift Herald because they do have first access to River, both in mid and top lane. But the waves are staying relatively neutral, and Direwolves make the first move again. They actually bring over Cupcake and King into that mid lane wave. They're looking to set up a siege.
Yeah, but Schoenfei is actually on the enemy Gromp right now, or on his own Gromp rather, so they're just going to back away. Swiffer will hold that one. 4 members of Order.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Saw the play, so they rotated down. Could have been able to defend it if they stuck to it, but obviously didn't want to. It was interesting as we just took a brief look at the gold values. Chippy's down 20-ish CS, kind of clawing his way back, but is up in gold from the Relic Shield, obviously in game 1. Tally didn't have that one, so now flipped. Has that one, so catches back up with the Klepto. He's ahead about 900 there.
Yeah, and I feel like this is just because we see a tank being played into him, even though he's a lane bully. Not going to be really dove unless you make a serious mistake. If you chip it, you saw he had to burn a flash, but you know, for the price of Gangplank's late game, I would say that is definitely a worthwhile trade. And he's putting in some work here.
Yep, Sion's just a different kind of lane bully. He bullies you by just constantly shoving you in and going to do whatever he wants. And constantly recall, ulting back to wave. He really shouldn't have kill pressure unless you heavily misplay, as you alluded to. So makes a lot of sense that he can greed out just that little bit extra.
He just got a sack of gold, by the way, and it gave him the full amount. He just took 100 gold off him with that 1 Q.
There you go. That's value.
Maybe
that's why he's ahead. Maybe he's RNG'd it. Maybe he's an expert sack of gold Gangplank player.
I mean, do you remember when TF's passives was global?
Oh yeah, that was stupid. I was thinking of a word. I was like, what's the word? Nah, that was dumb.
Yeah, that was overpowered.
Yeah, that was OP. Glad that got removed. Basically, you pick the champion, get a free gold.
Yep.
No matter what happens.
Ooh,
Zillion.
this is going to be a 2-man face check, most likely, coming in on this brush. You see Cupcake going for it.
Towards
Will
it.
now spot out Spooks. They just don't pull the trigger. They knew he was coming.
Yeah, but Direwolves are sending multiple members up here. Chippy does have his ulti and the TP.
Oh, actually, Spooks goes in, slaps them back together. No, misses out on that one. Triple good taunt. Grounding is there. That's the charm as well. They use every ultimate in the book, and they will pick up first blood.
And a very late first blood, especially going over to the Cassio. Nice play from Order. Tally. We were saying he's able to push it in, so they just bring him over.
Yeah, I was going to say Spook's about to be engaged on by 3 members. However, is not the case. Now Churn will go into him. Grounding lands. However, they're just defending this mid lane turret. Spooks will slap Churn back. Can he get out? Yes, he uses a hop.
No ulti coming out of Rogue. Used that one onto Triple, so he goes down. Just get the kill advantage. Not too many objectives going over. Spooks might be in a bit of trouble here. Does get out. Ali didn't pull the trigger on the combo.
That's the shortest hop in the world.
Gets him over the wall, though. That's what he needed.
Yeah, that's all he needed. Exactly right. Cassiopeia now will have a 3-stack rower and going into what will be a Seraph's Embrace again. This is why we feel like Cassiopeia has just been straight up buffed. They removed Morel and Omicon's usefulness in the build pass, so kind of get your 3 items at 2 as we take a look at the replay.
And we see this one again. Chippy's has gone for the base. That means Tally. But he's base off first and has walked all the way here with the ulti, can just get to the play first. Direwolves had a lot of members floating up because we thought they were going to look for a play topside. They have the Galio, they can get in behind and things like that, but because the 5v4, they get onto Triple, grounding, all the CC from Zac Sion just means he's dead. He doesn't blow his flash. Direwolves are like, look man, you're going down, I'm walking away.
Yeah, exactly right. So now talk to me about scaling, because we're having a look at about a 2,500 gold lead, most of that generated off the Gangplank, as we already mentioned, plus the first turret advantage. Order have themselves an Infernal Drake, which will make up some of that.
Yep.
But who do you feel scales better in this game? What are the teams looking to accomplish?
I feel like what they're looking to accomplish is more just about the first Baron spawn. I feel like that just overrides scaling, like overall 100%. Doesn't even matter. Sure, you have the Gangplank, you have the Caitlyn, you have Galio, things like that. It is matched fairly well.
Actually going to be able to drag Shern back, and he's going to die before the Galio even gets there. Galio lands on grounding, so cannot go for a flash play. Now King actually looking to get himself over the wall, followed by Rogue, and they're going to continue to chase out on multiple members. Good Gangplank ulti will slow that one down. However, Spooks is continuing, flashes forward, kidnaps Triple. He is so low, will get blobleted and will potentially fall down here, but Triple will join him in the death chamber right now. It is just going to be Chippy's committing to that split push play.
And we're only 18 minutes in. If this play was set up in a minute, if they could have got those 2 picks, that would have meant Baron. But advantage does go over to Order. Kind of clawing their way back into the goal lead. Gangplank is ahead here, got some solo time. Once again,
he might be able to take this turret, to be perfectly frank. I mean, 2 kills for a tier 2 turret. It's not the worst trade I've ever heard of.
Especially on the individual and the Gangplank. It's not just the goal overall across the team. He's already ahead. He's gone from a negative 20 CS lane to being up 10. And he gets the turret gold as well. So
FBI actually doesn't stick around for that turret gold, even though he knows everyone kind of is on a hard reset out of the Direwolves. Instead, he's just going to take a tempo base as well. Must have been looking at potentially a Zeal pickup for that item. It is still 1,600 gold lead right now for the Direwolves. And it's an Ocean Drake, which I feel like is going to be deprioritized completely. These teams will both play top side of the map.
Yep, as you see that, both bottom lanes being deployed up there. Comes down to who can get the best engaged. Swiffer been the recipient of these kills so far. So the solo lane, top lane for Direwolves, but mid lane for Order. Cassio versus the Gangplank.
And actually, they don't deprioritize it. They want to keep it ticking over. They know that there is a 1 in 3 chance that if they pick this one up, it will go back to being an Infernal Drake. They feel like with Cassiopeia, that is a good trade. They don't get the RNG. It's going to be air. That's when you roll the dice. Chippy's got 100 gold. Order got an air Drake.
Unlucky, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. Baron still hadn't spawned. It was about 5 seconds off, so it's not like Direwolves could have been rushing that one on the other side of the map, so they kind of just take that objective for free.
Yep.
Makes a lot of sense there. The bottom lane for Direwolves being shepherded down the river right now, and they're just going to be fighting over vision. That's going to be the big thing.
Tally's actually in big trouble. He uses the ultimate, actually has to flash over the wall. Chippy's convincingly winning this split push.
And is this the swing point? Now, we talked about the gold lead is on Swiffer for Order, but Tally is falling further and further behind. Has Chippy's done enough in this 1v1? Has he farmed enough? 2 items. Can he start contesting the side lane? Can he start threatening the inhib? Does get the turret, so he finally picks himself up a little bit of extra gold there.
And once again, I don't feel like either of these Gangplanks this patch was gifted a free lane. I think they actually both played very well. I think that as you're being shoved in, there is a potential for Order with 2 priority lanes, mid and top, to just take away all of Shern's jungle. But they played around it nicely. They used a big priority bottom lane out of the Caitlyn, out of the Alistar. Beautifully played from Cupcake, as well as King. And now potentially looking for a top lane play. No, just ultimate burnt out of Shern. Gets nothing.
Something is brewing. Spooks does get pinged out, so they know where he is. And Swift has rotated up again. Vision will be applied by the W from Shernfire, so they know exactly what's going on. Probably just going to look at take down that Scuttle Crab, get themselves some more Baron vision.
They really need to start breaking turrets, however.
Yeah.
There's just such a big gold lead sitting here passively, as now Shern going to look for Swiffer.
And that's the big thing.
Does not find him. Do they potentially pull the trigger on this play?
Maybe. Spooks was looking, but
he still wants it, to be honest.
He doesn't see Shern right now. We'll see him now that he's actually revealed
Shern
himself.
just does nothing to Spooks at this stage of the game. He's not yet on his Dustblade of Drakthar, which is kind of the swing point.
Yep. But this turret's the big thing, and also mid, because Order have shown that they can get priority around the Baron Pit. They already do. They have 4 pink wards. Direwolves do not have a lot of vision around there, but because the turret line is so far extended, because until about 10 seconds ago, that top lane outer was up, the mid lane outer is still there.
Yep.
It means Direwolf, their line of safety is just so close to the Baron Pit. Order aren't going to have enough time to kind of force that one to steal it away, because Direwolves can sit so close, so safely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all about breaking down that mid turret.
You can see it, and at the same time, because they're at those turrets already, off the back of one reset, they go in, they sweep out all that vision. Scuttle Crab obviously a little bit more permanent, but still very nicely done. Potentially got to get Swiffer into a side lane and let this duo try and take over the mid lane turret. However, it is very hard for Xayah to assault turrets at this stage of the game still.
I feel like it's more on a dive, if they can get the Rakan, get the Zac on anyone like that, if they can get onto the bot lane, because Direwolves also set up the 1-3-1 there. They were the first team here to put the Caitlyn and the Ali mid. They swapped Galio topside when they gave up that turret. And obviously they still have chippies down bot.
They're going to look for the Sion ulti as well. You can see right now that Tally is going to run mid lane. They're in behind. However, no, they abort the play before it even begins. Tally instead goes back top because one more misplay. As actually Spooks gets ultied,
brings a cow.
Will be able to bring a cow back with him, and in goes Rogue, looking for that quickness potentially. No, they will not commit to the play. Now Shern is in, looking for FBI. Is that a misplay? Because he will not be able to pick him up. They block out on that ult, and Shern gets knocked up. Where is Tally? He still isn't here. Order is very low. Triple looking for the play, gets 3-man taunt, but the rest of the team isn't there. FBI so low. Spooks flashes forward. Now Tally is on the back line. Already Shern has killed a member. Big ulti, and on the back line, actually, Direwolves are ripping Order apart. Now Order on the wrong side of the map. What? King is dead somehow. Very nice re-engage from Spooks. Will mean the Cupcake is falling down very low. Bloblets are there. Do they protect it? Good knock up onto Chippies, but Swiffer and Tally are now 2v4 stuck here, and they cannot get the rest of the members. Taunt will come out. Triple will pick up Tally right now, and the zombie is going to be left to try and wail away at some people. Headbutt Pulverize combo onto Swiffer. It's going to be an ace. It's only going to be for one member, and the Direwolves will look at Baron.
And such a split extended engage. Can they opt into any objective? Can they get the Baron? No. They just back away, looking for the recalls. Ali's incredibly low, but the rest of the members...
Triple can tank that barrel, I think, right now.
And Rogue is the only one that was up. FBI did just spawn, so they could have started that one already, but they don't opt in.
Had the banner of command as well. You lose tempo off the back end of the push, which used to mean that like teams would shove out your waves, but that's no longer the case. Let's take a look at the fight.
And Spooks just gets caught. He has to ulti himself out. Unfortunately for him, he gets Cupcake here, but he's already so incredibly low, and until Tally arrives, he's the only tank line. So FBI
Tally looks like they're not fighting. Look, he's going back to the wave.
Yeah, he walks back towards bot lane, and FBI gets so incredibly low. This is 2 members, now 3, before Swiffer even joins the fight, that they're just so incredibly low. Rogue dies to Shernfire and Chippies on the back end, and that was a huge taunt at a triple. So Swiffer is really the only threat right now. Tally has arrived. I think he's about to ulti onto King, who gets very low. Nice Hero's entrance out of the Galio, keeps him alive, but King just gets run over by a freight train. It's just Swiffer versus the world right now. Tally and Spooks are trying to frontline for him, but can't really push out consistent damage. There's just so many damage threats still available, and if the Ali ever combos onto Swiffer, he just goes down. Any form of CC lands, that's exactly what we see. They chase him down, kind of blows the summoner, but feels a bit futile at that point because he's going to go down eventually, stuck between the Direwolves and their base.
Yeah, but the fact that he stayed alive for so long, did so much damage, probably stopped Baron, so say futile, but Direwolves now with a 5,000 gold lead, but Swiffer's still massive, 2-1-2. 3-item Cassiopeia and only scaling up, but at the same time, you have to look towards the Galio. Such a potent power pick. You have to look towards the Gangplank. Chippies is a monster. He's got himself 3 items, nearly completed 4 versus 2 at the moment from Tally. He's just not going to be a tank because everyone on Direwolves does more damage than he has health.
And they've bannered a range creep here. Just going to get completely eaten by FBI, but it might have just bought them enough time to get the turret.
Yeah, certainly looks to be the case. They had Rogue back in base, so they take down the 3 outer turrets. Now it's a 6,000 gold lead. The trap line is starting to move up, and you feel like this time around, a little bit more of that suffocating Direwolves playstyle.
It's what you expect to see from them here. We didn't see it game 1, but game 2 turning it around massively. It's pretty weird. 26 minutes into the game, we hadn't seen an outer turret mid lane drop.
There is an outright 4,000 gold lead right now on Chippies. He is the gold lead. So everyone else is actually relatively even. Spooks and the 2 tanks are behind the 2 carries. Eventually, that matters less for the tanks, but it will always matter for FBI and Swiffer because if they get hit by either Shern or Chippies, they're the ones that feel it.
Now the squishy members here, FBI currently working on his 3rd item. Looking to pick that one up. Wants the Infinity Edge to round it out, but so is King. For the most part, pretty even across the board, but as you mentioned, the gold lead all on the side lane and the Gangplank. He's had so much pressure, but he's taken down the outer, he's taken down the inner bot lane, but really can't threaten around the inhib. It's just so far gone with Mini so far on Order's territory, and especially since they only just broke the mid lane outer. It just acts as such a pivot point for Order, so he can't really contest past that point. So as they break down turrets in the mid lane, it becomes easier for Chippies to push on the side.
And I feel like Order need to look for an engage sooner or later because the game's getting slowly out of hand. They have such a good go forward comp on the Rakan, on the Zac, but they're just not able to find the window with Tally there with the team. And as soon as Tally bounces a wave, you see that Chippy's backs away. He starts to catch it, and they just play kind of, you know, bounce the waves back between two teams, and Chippy's gets more gold every time he goes to a side lane.
Yeah, 100%. King also just recalled, picked up his 3rd item spike, so big moment there for the Direwolves so far. And you mentioned scaling and things like that, and I was like, look, it's all down to the first Baron, but this is probably the latest one we've seen so far for the most part. 28 minutes, there hasn't really been an attempt yet. There's been a team fight around it there. Cupcake potentially looking for FBI, but does just back away. Yeah,
they're actually looking for a space check coming out of one of the Direwolves members. Does not look like they're going to get it out of a squishy. It's going to be Cupcake frontlining, as he always does. Such a crucial member right now for the Direwolves. Spooks, again, has been caught out. That's a keg onto 2 members. And Chippies runs forward, gets that static shift proc, and you see, he clears the wave so quickly, and Tally, it takes a long time to do it.
Yeah, but to charge up those abilities, multiple rotations there to actually clear out the wave. Top lane outer is basically free gold for the Direwolves right now. Triple might just go up there and try and defend it, but Order deploying the Snake, deploying Swiffer up there to match. But fairly tame play across the board. Schönfire is going to solo himself out an Air Drake. The one we saw spawn earlier was the Ocean picked up by Order, so it will be the first Air Drake taken.
And this kind of feels like a playoff game right now. It kind of feels like one of those
like
games
high tension,
that
slow.
no one is willing to make a mistake.
Yep.
And that means that no one is really willing to make that big play that could go 50-50. Every single play we've seen so far has been calculated and has been a very high percentage play. Now Caitlyn's sitting on 3 items, a little bit cheaper because she goes a second Zeal item. Xayah still waiting for the Infinity Edge to come out. You see right now that that's a Sterix picked up for Chippies. He's absolutely fine. 4 items completed plus boots means that he's only got 1 item to go. And at 30 minutes into this game, a rests on a knife's edge. And I feel like Gangplank's going to determine 2 games in a row on an 8.4 pack.
Yeah, potentially here. You mentioned Order. You think they have to be looking for a fight sooner rather than later? Rogue?
That's a hard reset coming out right now. I feel like Order potentially can look to do something. If they notice the pattern that Direwolves are willing to have more than 3 members off the map at the same time, with a Cassiopeia and with a Zac, you just burn the Baron.
With a Xayah, you can secure it pretty well as well, combo that with a Smite. Not as reliable as something like the Callista, but when you do it so quickly with the Cassio, you can burn that one down almost immediately. But I was going to say, Rogue, I feel like agrees with you here. Hasn't gone for the Banner of Command. Same build path as the Zeeks, but opts in for the more aggressive team fighting option. Spooks kind of just holding the hand of Swiffer right now as he clears out that top wave. They wanted to push that one in.
But Sharon knows he's around somewhere because he went sniffing for him one more time. He was like, okay, where is he? Wasn't able to find him, but they did not face check that trap. You see Chippies one more time joining his team. 3 items picked up for FBI. It's against a 3.5-ish item for King. Death cap finish for Triple. He does serious damage now. Swiffer not going towards it. Has got what looks to be the components. Potentially the Morellinomicon.
Possibly there. And I feel like this is the first time where Direwolves have had a long period of control around the Baron. Finally, they're the ones in the driver's seat around this objective. They're constantly clearing this one out. Order trying to float in there, placing some pinks, placing some vision, but the aim of the game is that Baron, but nobody really yet willing to pull the trigger. 31 minutes. Time is just ticking away. And as you mentioned, Gangplank, Chippy's only getting stronger and stronger as the game goes on.
Looking for an Infinity Edge, most likely for his last item, would be a massive deal right now. Going to take himself a free blue buff. Chippies is having a fantastic game. A little bit of play back into form, you would have to think. But how often do Order actually let them bounce waves before they just Scion ulti onto someone, before they go for the Xayah Rakan engage? Because right now, the wave bounce just every single time seems to favor the Direwolves. They get so much more tempo off it.
I feel like it's about the bottom lane of the Direwolves. King, Cupcake, and then Schönfire playing in the 3 in the mid lane. Obviously, Chippy's floating bot, pushes it in. Triple floats top, pushes it in. But every time this happens, Tally is walking over with Order, and they're looking for the Force. They have the Zac, they have the Scion, they have the Rakan, but Direwolves just playing so respectfully. Every time that happens, they back away so deep, out of vision range, so they're not just going to pull the trigger on a blind Scion ulti. They need to see what they're actually going for, so kind of denying them any possibility to force in the middle lane means that their side lane pressure just means so much more.
So we're going to see the first game that has an Elder Drake spawn. I don't see it finishing in the next 3 minutes, to be perfectly frank, Bryce. So we'll see whether it... Oh, actually, Shern's caught out FBI. You see big damage coming across, however, doesn't stick with the play.
Doesn't actually continue to chase. No deep vision. is just a Kha'Zix, is just a jungler, so no green smite means he's got nothing left. And this is the third bannered range creep. They're just using them on cooldown to generate incredibly small advantages in the side lane. If that minion just lasts a few autos extra, if it does a little bit more damage, it just means they can push 1 second further. But
Rogue
Rogue's
wants
looking
this
for a play.
engage. You see the trap line has been set up. Shern goes very low. Shern gets blown up. And Inge jumps triple, but the damage is already done. Damage is dead. Spooks gets 2, however, he too is very low. Flashes forward. He's going to kidnap triple back. And this is a huge team fight victory right now for Order. You see 3 versus 2. Cupcake still trying to kite this one out. But Swiffer is pumping out the damage. And you can see
misses.
King not able to get anything. Gets slowed, gets slapped back, picks up another kill. And this is a 5-for-1 pickup right now for the Order lineup.
And it was the perfect engage that they needed. They get onto the squishy bug. They take him down. King couldn't auto-attack the entire time, was constantly zoned away. They have multiple engage tools. The Sion, the Zac, just zoning away the Caitlyn. King couldn't do anything despite being incredibly strong. So Order, once now, finally, have access to the Baron.
And what did we say? Order has turned into this team that they say, we will play the game at your pace. You give us items, we will team fight you. No longer trying to play that Korean-style League of Legends. This is like almost LPL-style League of Legends, where if you just team fight us, we're going to try and take it.
Yeah, the trap line is immense here. Rogue does get the engage, and even though Shern can go invisible, it does not matter. And they've already burnt on the side of Direwolves the big Hero's Entrance out of the Galio. Spooks lanes a big engage here, gets the slap onto Chippies, and then he gets thrown back into the team and then blown up almost immediately. You have to remember the gold lead for Direwolves. So much of it rests on the gangplank. When you have Caitlyn not able to hit in a team fight, the kidnap lands on the gangplank going into 4 members of Order. There's just no way that once that engage lands onto the Direwolves that Order are going to let them win.
Yeah, exactly right. And you can see all the summoner spells used on the back end. There looked like there was a little bit of another tango. And potentially now Direwolves have inside track here on what will be an Elder Drake spawning in 30-odd seconds.
Tally is in the base, but he does have TP available. Rogue, big cooldown, did use the flash and also the ulti whilst we were in the replay, but the trap line means they're going to struggle to get into the pit. I'm not sure why they're not just playing with the waves right now. They have the Baron, they can push these ones in.
I think they were just waiting for the Sion to be back mid. You can see he's just streaming down with a great wave, yelling at people. Tally off the back end of that team fight got so much gold now back in the game as a super tank.
Shernfire looking for the flanks once again. We see him do this. As Spooks might have just found Juppies, no, but he walks away. Shernfire does this the best out of all Oceanic Kha'Zix players, I think. He's a flank Kha'Zix. He'll play in the backline, constantly threaten FBI and Cassio. They're both really immobile, so if he ever gets onto them, if they ever take a crit from Caitlyn, Shernfire can finish him off in the backside.
Yeah, one of them will die. Either Shern will die
or
the carrier will die.
But
he will roll the dice, and you've got to really respect that. Big barrel lands onto Swiffer. Petrifying engage onto multiple members, however. Shern's so low, that's a big ulti. FBI free hitting on the backline, big knockoff, and they're just kind of trading tanks right now. Spooks kidnaps Galio, brings him back into the team, and you can see he is just melting like butter. Tally finally falls down, so that is a 1-for-1 trade right now. But Order look a little bit more healthy. No, it's a 2-for-1 because Tally died.
Yeah, you said the tanks do last a little bit longer for Order. Obviously, all they have is the Alistar 4 Direwolves, but 2 members do go down for Order, so they all lose the fight overall, but can they just do the Elder anyway?
Yeah, potentially could look
Crab
to start
just
it
despawn.
up. Crab despawns. Do they actually pull the trigger on this play? They do not.
And the biggest thing for that fight is the zone control that comes out of Ali and the Galio. FBI and Swift do so much damage, but they just can't step forward into the Galio at landing. So they just zoned off from the fight, just not dealing damage for the longest time. And that meant King on the backside, he's just 1v2 versus the tanks. He's getting peeled back. Obviously, the tanks aren't going to take him down, but it gave him enough time to deal with them. So they pick up more kills there. Gold lead still is heavily in favor of the Direwolves, but you have to think Order, with the Baron there, potentially would have been looking to win that fight.
Yeah, certainly, because so much of the stats now come from Baron. We're not talking about, 20 ability power anymore. We're talking about nearly 80 ability power coming out in the latter stages of the game.
Yep. At 40 minutes, that's what it is. It's 80. Not to mention the AD as well. So, Elder Drake is still going to be the point of contention right now, but 2 members topside for Direwolves.
Yeah, if they show here. However, all they did there was Banner of Command 1 creep. But now Order has all this time where they can just run into the Elder Dragon pit and say, we're going to start this one up. We do it so damn quickly. Come if you will, Direwolves. But if you do not get here in time, this objective is ours.
Shern can go. Pink Ward goes over, so they know that Dragon is on 2,000. Spooks goes out of the pit.
Yeah, actually flies out of the pit. Kidnaps back in the 80 carry. Gets CC'd up and gets blown up. So with the jungler now dead, double kill picked up. Spooks wants the Elder, will be able to get it. 3 members of Direwolves down. They can potentially look to push down mid.
I honestly thought that was the biggest mistake. Schönfire finds his way into the Dragon Pit, but doesn't have enough damage to take it down, so Spooks gets the engage. He flies away from the objective, but Order win the fight, and at the back end, they get it too.
Yeah, and now Triple has to be careful, because look at this. Edge is going to rush him. He's not that tanky. In flies Spooks, looking to get a slap back. Just misses that. But Order now pushing through mid lane.
And they've got the banner as well, so they're going to push this one down. Even quicker here, they have the tank line. 20 seconds on King, 30 seconds on Chippies. Do Order just look for the end?
Yeah, they potentially can. However, you feel it's just a little bit too close, so they back away.
They do.
They're going to wait for this one to continue. They have to catch that big, juicy bottom wave, that banner of command minion top wave.
That is a big wave, and that's what a slow push does. It puts Order on the clock. They have to make the play for the Elder immediately, which they did. Because if they don't, this wave is enormous in the side lane, and all it cost Cupcake was a 2-minute cooldown on the banner. But Order, because they win the fight, they get the objective, they also get these huge side waves as well, so they kind of win on 3 separate fronts here. Tally going to pick that one up. That's a juicy wave.
Certainly is. You can see nearly completed items coming across for everyone. FBI is going to be able to grab that big top wave with Swiffer. You'd expect that to be, you know, second Zeal item completed, potentially Death Cap completed as well. And they've still got the Elder Drake buff to be able to fight for a little bit more. Spooks, however, caught out by Shern. Can he hop away here? No, he actually is looking to bring him in there. Oh, so close.
He has to burn the flash there. Spooks cancelled the jump from Kha'Zix. Rogue, centimeters, millimeters away from landing the taunt.
However, that was a quickness and Zac ulti. So 2 of the big engage tools now not available whilst Order want to fight. You can see they're still posturing for it. Cupcake goes so deep, and that's grounding as well. Spooks, however, is getting blown up. Big Casio OP. Where is the damage coming out of Order? And he's just not there. The front line is crumbling, and Triple is just standing tall. And Direwolves will take that fight.
Direwolves are so incredibly low, though. Swiffer doesn't have access to the ulti, but both carries are still available. No Ocean Drake on Direwolves. That's on Order's side. So Baron spawning in 50 seconds, so they have the man advantage. They should be able to set up the control around this objective, and Cupcake looked like he was caught. Spooks goes in for the pick, but such a tanky cow lives for just long enough, and the blob goes down.
I actually feel the turning point was the fact that Stoneplate has been picked up as well as Bramble Vest. So all of a sudden, the only person that actually hurt Triple is going to be Swiffer, because FBI has graded out, hasn't gone for any armor penetration. So against Triple alone, because that's the only member that has armor, he does nothing.
That's weird. That's a weird build.
I actually think it's the correct build, because no armor coming out of Shern, really. No armor out of top lane. No armor out of 80 carry. If he free hits, he does a lot of damage.
That's if he free hits, though. But the way the fights are going, Sion, Zac, they dive the backline. King has to deal with him. He's got the Last Whisper upgrade there, but of course FBI doesn't. But he's got Cupcake. He's got 90 armor from items alone, opting in for his next armor item in the Knight's Vow as well. So you have 2 beefy tanks in the Cow and Triple that he has to get through before he can really deal with the range of King or anything like that. So potentially could be a big factor here. Baron has spawned. Schönfire once again poking his head around. Has the safety of the GA.
But Order just want to get their mid lane up. The Rabnan's death cap, you feel. Right now, Swiffer would be sitting on so much AP. 40% more for a Cassiopeia would be monumental in this game. Swiffer goes by himself into mid lane. Looking to contest that.
Yep, King trying to trap off the choke there. Didn't have enough time there, but FBI gets a nice
attack.
Chunk. Half HP.
Half health.
Whichever 80 carry gets the first hit literally wins the 1v1 here.
However, Order now with priority on the Baron buff. You can see they say, come on guys, come face check another objective. We'll start it up. We've got a tank that does not seem to want to die.
Tally's sitting in between as well. Cupcake going to get some vision
this
behind.
Is
but
absolutely gone. They peel off actually. Shern goes in. Shern gets the Baron. King flashes out of the ulti from Spooks, and now Swiffer. Big Cassiopeia ult. It's going to fight front to back again. Shern dives onto Swiffer. Will get reduced into GA. You can see FBI free hitting, but will fall down to this ultimate. No! Just lives. Swiffer on the back end is somehow still alive. Tally gets juggled. Will go into zombie.
That's
and as a unit, they need to get out of this jungle. Chip is dashing forward. Can they keep them here?
They have the Baron on Direwolf, so Order don't have the enhanced recall. 2 carries are alive, so there is outplay potential. But Direwolves just playing it very slow.
TP coming
comes
back
through
in
from triple.
looking for the taunt. Will find the taunt.
Plans.
Picks
Goes
up
down.
Swiffer. This actually might be the game right now. You see FBI and Rogue just trying to pick up what they can. Chippies with a crit will get knocked up, but will shut down FBI. And now Direwolves with all their members, 4 people still alive, will march up mid lane and will win this game.
And such a close game ends at the drop of a hat there. Cupcake gets into the backline. He gets Galio onto multiple members. The combo didn't look good, but Lay with the Galio just zones them all out. Schönfire gets the Baron, and they win the fight as well.
And you have to think Spooks this time leaving the pit was the wrong call because he just gave over Baron, and the game ends so quick. No one else was going to be up and alive. 43 minutes in. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a series of our hands. It is going to be 1-1 between Order and Direwolves for potentially the top spot of the OPL.
Damn, what the? Ooh, this is close. This is real close. These are the slowest games we've seen on this patch overall. They just take so much time and so incredibly close around the objective. Baron is just so big. Not even just Baron, actually. Just the L. Like, every objective fight is just so incredibly close. I feel like Direwolves were on the kind of the back foot on the last 2 objectives. The Elder Drake, where Spook stashes out of the pit, but they win the fight anyway. And then, of course, that last Baron, they were the second ones to be there. They were the ones contesting, but the second one, finally get a decent engage, finally actually get the smite down, and it was enough to turn it.
Yeah, it certainly was. And Order right now having a little bit of a chat. Don't look all that concerned, to be honest. 43-minute game. That one would have hurt for the players. You want to win that. You want to get out of here nice and early.
That was looking when they were literally, potentially, they could have ended that game. If they played super risky, they were going for the mid-inhib, still had 15 seconds-ish on the cooldown. So that game was within reach, to be honest. And then to turn it around and lose emphatically, the ace coming out about a couple of minutes later, that does hurt.
Yeah, it certainly does. And you have to think that they played that one very composed, very calm. They stalled until they felt like they had their items. They were looking for their team fights. I think they picked up 2 or 3 in a row, but then Direwolves, because of that lead, just got one and were able to roll through mid lane.
And that's the thing. They did have the gold lead for the majority of the game because of the Gangplank. We've seen Gangplank win 2 games this series so far. See if we see a game 3, to be honest, because both players have proven they can be effective. Chippy's obviously into the Scion versus the Camille, could go much greedier. And then I feel like probably had more gold overall, but definitely interesting.
Yeah, it certainly was. To hear their thoughts on what was a very interesting game, let's throw it over to the analyst hangout.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm once again joined by Jubes, and I was nervous watching that game. I had butterflies.
I didn't care who won, and I was sweating. Doesn't affect me either way, but no, it was good. It was one thing I noticed about these games was like it was so much different than what like OS games usually are. This was like this kind of reminded me of like a Korean game. Maybe skill shot wise, maybe not, but in terms of like just farming for items, like getting 3 or 4 items, grouping and team fighting around objectives. It was actually quite fun to watch. It was a nice change.
Even comparing it to the games we saw, Chiefs versus Legacy, like those games were sub 30 minutes.
And they were clean. They were clean.
Yeah, and this one was over 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Game 1, you could say, was very clean from Order, but something I want to talk about is I think in this game, we can say that the early game was very much passive like it was in game number 1. But you were saying during the last game that the Direwolves were just kind of waiting for Order to mess something up so they could take advantage of it. They weren't able to do that in game 1, but in game 2, they were able to. But are both of these teams playing passive because they're scared, or is it part of their game plan, or what's the deal?
I think it's like high tension situations. So usually you would see like Rogue on Rakan and Spooks on Zac engage like much more frequently than they did. But like I was saying to you before, right? You know how like we see Direwolves lose games, lose the first game, and they don't look like they're doing anything, and it's like, well, what the hell are they doing? Like they should just be Sejuani ulting or engage. The good teams will lose games sometimes, and like it will look like they've got perfect game because they won't do anything. Because they're not willing to like just engage, just brainlessly engage. Whereas like the real average, like the real lower tier teams will just see something, they'll go, and then they'll lose the game in 20 minutes if it's bad. Whereas like Direwolves, Order, all those teams will make sure that the play that they make is either the enemy team making a mistake or them seeing something that's really good. So yes, sometimes you'll see teams lose games at 45 minutes where they've just bled out slowly and not done anything, but it's because they're waiting for that opportunity, and sometimes teams close games out really well, and that opportunity doesn't come. And I think this was one of those games where they were like consistently waiting for something to happen, and stuff did happen, and it was back and forth. It was like a tug of war, and it was real good to watch. Actually, it was like a real fun game for me.
As you said, it was really back and forth. And you were saying when we were watching the game that Spooks was like your unsung hero during this game. He made some really good plays. Yeah, until the end. But on the other side, Chippy's was like really scary.
Yeah, so Chippy's got the thing about Gangplank is if he gets a free lane, like free lanes for him generally means into a tank. Like Sign's a bit of a lane bully, but GP can survive. Like. And it's fine. And you saw that, like, GP literally just got 6 items on level 18 when everyone else was level 16, because there's nothing Sion can do past a certain threshold of items. But the unsung hero for me that game was going to be Spooks if they won. Then the Baron call was... the Baron... I'm going to assume it's up to the jungler there to not turn off Baron when it's on, like, 1.5k, but there's a lot more that goes into it. But I think, like, Spooks was controlling the game really well, and pretty like his engages and what he was doing in team fights was really, really nice. But in the same sense, I think like there's no individual to point out. It was just really well played in every single team fight that a team won. So if Order won a team fight, it was like really well won by Order as a team. Like Rakan engaged really well, Spooks engaged really well. But in the same sense, when Direwolves won team fights and won the game, like their front line, like Galio, Alistar, were doing what they needed to do. Chippies was doing insane amounts of damage, and that's the difference between a good GP and an average GP. Good GPs will pop barrels in team fights, and you won't find that many times, but Chippies will, in some clutch moments, landed some very big barrels.
I want to go back to what you were saying about Order leaving Baron down really low, because they did it for the last Baron, but they also did it for the Elder.
Yeah.
And I think in that case, they were really lucky that Schoenfire didn't just get it himself.
I think the fight was already won, but I think like when they left, it was on like 1.5.
It was really low.
If Kha'Zix just probably like spent 1.5 seconds hitting the Elder Drake and smiting it, it may have turned the fight. I can't really remember. I'm not entirely sure. But then the same thing happened on the Baron, and it was real iffy. It kind of feels like Order's not confident playing around that Baron, and yeah, like I don't know what to say. This series can just go either way. Like it's real intense. Like I'm rubbing my legs because I'm nervous and stuff. Like I'm like trying to get out the energy. I'm trying to shake it all out, the nervous energy.
We gave you the option at the beginning of the day to change your prediction. Do you think that Order are going to be able to mentally reset after this game?
I think Direwolves will win. I think it's like hard to like reset from that one. You've put everything into it. Like there's a certain point in a game where you think you've won. Like I know for a fact when Order's push that inhib down with Elder Drake and whatnot, in their heads they've won that game. So it's like you've subconsciously accepted the fact that you've won. You've just got to close out now. It's like not up to anyone else besides you to close that game out. When you lose a game from that position, you have to like rewind your mentality and get back into we have a battle to go to now. We have to get the leads in the early game again. We have to get the leads in the mid game again. And it honestly feels like you're climbing up a mountain. Like it's a real bad feeling when you lose that game.
Do you think that maybe Order need to see if they can get King back onto a champion? He's not comfortable. Like, obviously, I guess he was comfortable in Misfortune enough for him to pick it in the first game. But I think the difference between Game 1 and Game 2 is that the bottom lane definitely had a better draft.
I think this game had nothing to do with pick ban, in all honesty. Like, I think that the game was won and lost in team fights. And that's what's great about this series, or this game in particular, is like it was legitimately down to like little macro and micro decisions to win this game. Whereas like a lot of games in OS in particular, it's down to like laning phase. They won lane, they won game. Or the pick ban was terrible. But like I feel like both teams had obvious win conditions. And in team fights, they both had ways to win team fights. And Direwolves just executed much better in my opinion, and they were much more decisive around like Baron calls and Elder Drakes and contesting Baron, especially with the lack of vision, which was real good to see. So yeah, like honestly, both teams, I don't think they have to fix much in terms of pick ban. I think what they have to fix is how they approach objectives and reading yourselves of that feeling that like you need to win this series. Just treat it like any other game. Obviously, it's for first place, but I think it's important to just play how you would normally play. Like I know that it kind of felt like both teams were holding back a little bit. They all had real proactive champions, and it was like real. it was real hesitant. You could tell by the way they were missing abilities and they were exiting different ways. Like FBI was running up a ramp, Rogue was flashing a wall, and vice versa. Like it was a real edgy game, but I loved it.
Sharp did say it would come down to which team would execute
Exactly,
their composition better. But we're going to head to a short break, but when we get back, we're going to have game number 3 between this amazing series, Order and Direwolves. Don't miss it.
Gets blown up, and in jumps triple, but the damage is already done. Damage is dead. Spooks gets 2, however, he too is very low. Flashes forward, he's going to kidnap triple back, and this is a huge team fight victory right now for Order. Yeah, actually flies out of the pit, kidnaps back in the 80 carry, gets CC'd up, and gets blown up. So with the jungler now dead, double kill picked up. Spooks wants the Elder, will be able to get it. Jern goes in, Jern gets the Baron! King flashes out of the ulti from Spooks, and now Swiffer, big Cassiopeia ult, it's going to fight front to back again. Jern dives onto Swiffer, will get reduced into GA, you can see FBI free hitting, but will fall down to this ultimate. No, just lives. Swiffer on the back end is somehow still alive. Chippies with their crit will get knocked up, but will shut down FBI, and now Direwolves with all their members, 4 people still alive, will march up mid lane and will win this game. 43 minutes in. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a series of our hands. It is going to be 1-1 between Order and Direwolves for potentially the top spot of the OPL.